Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today's entire show is about skin. You know, it used to frustrate the hell out of me when I first started doing shows focusing on anti-aging 16 years ago. Inevitably, whenever I went to research things about anti-aging, it was always focused on skin. Back then, we were talking about diseases related to aging and how certain lifestyle changes could help avoid and navigate around those disease states. But inevitably, anytime you went into Google or whatever search engine du jour of the day, and you put the word anti-aging in, something came up about skin, how to make skin look younger. And I got to be honest, I don't care about my skin per se. Let me be clear. I'm a sun worshiper. People tell me, oh, you got wrinkles. I don't care. I love the sun. The sun does wonderful things for the human body. But at the same time, now that I'm 64 years old, the idea of keeping my skin youthful has become more and more important to me. Thank you so much, Brian. Brisket. I'll be eating that after the show. I care about my skin now. As many of you know, I started using Restoracell, and this stuff is just amazing. I mean, it's changed the quality of my skin in months because it uses a peptide known as GHKCU that has been shown to actually have profound effect on the quality of skin by switching certain genes on and certain genes off. But today we're going to talk about a study that was able to reverse the aging of skin by up to 30 years. This is a whole big game changer here, right? This is being done in a laboratory. This isn't some before and after picture of some mom, empty nester who's, wants to look younger now that the kids are out of the house. This is, and the science behind this has widespread implications, because if you can truly reverse the aging of skin, then there's a good chance you can reverse the aging of all tissue in the body. Before we get started, I have to thank our title sponsor who makes this show possible, and that is Legendary Foods, makers of the tasty pastry, less than 1 gram of sugar, 4 to 5 net carbs, 20 grams of high-quality protein, but more importantly, it tastes like real cake. You will swear you're eating something you shouldn't, and your kids will love them too. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to try the single greatest and fastest growing healthy snack in the world. Check them out. And now, without further delay, my guest today is Dr. Dlijeet Gill. How you doing, Dr. Gill?
Hey, Carl. How are you doing? I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. Now, you're 95 years old, right? You're
That's my secret. You're not supposed to say it.
But, when I first started doing shows about anti-aging, it was all about skin. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about diseases. It wasn't about metabolic diseases and Alzheimer's. But now I've come full circle to appreciate improving the quality of my skin. But before we get into your research, was what I said earlier a stretch? Isn't it possible that if you can do this with skin, you can do this with heart tissue? You could do it with kidney tissue. I mean, can't you? Isn't this going to be something big?
I think, yeah, it's very exciting. The prospect of this being not just applicable to skin cells, but if this could work in other cell types, yeah, you could imagine rejuvenating your heart or your kidneys or your liver. And yeah, very exciting potential, definitely.
Now, you are with, what university are you with? I'm sorry.
So I was at the University of Cambridge, so at the Barber Institute, which is affiliated with the university. So yeah, we're based in Cambridge in the UK. And yeah, I did my PhD, and this was very much what my project was focusing on.
Why did you become so interested in this type of research? You're a young guy. Most young people don't care about aging. What attracted you to this?
I think this all started from my undergraduate degree. So I did my undergraduate degree at Newcastle University, and it was biomedical sciences. So it was quite a broad degree topic, which covered many different aspects of biology, in particular human biology. And we had the option to choose modules in our second year, and one of them was the biology of aging. I hadn't really studied it before this, so I was really curious what this would even be about. And I think the kind of first couple of lectures were really amazing, that this wasn't just science fiction, but really there was a lot of really interesting and amazing research that had already happened and was still ongoing. And that kind of inspired me to continue in that direction.
Okay, so talk about this study for a second. Why this study? What work preceded what we're going to talk about today that made this the next logical research to do?
So yeah, our method is based on stem cell reprogramming. So this has been a technique that has been around since 2006, pioneered by the group Yamanaka in Japan. So this is a phenomenal technique where almost any cell in our body can be converted back into a stem cell. And this process just requires 4 genes to be expressed, known as the Yamanaka factors. This process is a little bit tedious, but it can be done on any cell type. But the issue is you lose your starting cell type. But amazingly, this does rejuvenate cells almost entirely. These cells effectively go back to an embryonic-like state, effectively 0 years old. So they essentially are fully rejuvenated. But yeah, as I mentioned, yeah, you lose your starting cell type, so you don't have the functions you had. So if you're a skin cell, you're no longer a skin cell, and you can't behave in that appropriate manner. So we were very curious if we could somehow harness the rejuvenation from this reprogramming approach, but still keep our starting cell type and therefore keep the functions, but in a more youthful form.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper into that. We've done lots of shows about stem cells over the years. And today there's literally, I used to track studies about pluripotent stem cells, and there used to be maybe the odd study every month, and now there's like 50 a day. Stem cells are really, really exciting. However, I have said for years that stem cells were never designed to be harvested, and then they're tools for our body. Our body is supposed to be able to use those stem cells to make repairs, but there are lots of things that act upon those stem cells to bring them to a point where they are the cell for that tissue, whether it's liver or a kidney or whatever. If you're taking these back to an embryonic state, does this mean that they have no blueprint, or does this mean that the blueprint is dormant and you have to reactivate it so that it becomes the target tissue you want?
Yes, I would say it's the second scenario. So these cells have the potential to become any cell type you'd like, but you have to provide the kind of the right instructions or the right cues in order to allow that to occur. And we do know some of the cues to do that, so we can get certain cell types relatively easily, but other cell types, it can be really difficult to obtain them, especially at high efficiencies, or even to get fully mature versions of cell types. So an example could be a pancreas cell. We can differentiate cells into pancreas cells, but they tend to represent an immature form. And these cells now behave kind of inappropriately, and they make all the hormones of the pancreas at once rather than just insulin. So they wouldn't be able to function to treat diabetes in that example. So yeah, we've been interested in a way of like harnessing the rejuvenation, but essentially not going to this embryonic state. What if we can kind of pause the process beforehand, get some of the rejuvenation, but still end up in that mature, fully functional cell type state in the end?
That's phenomenal. If you can do that, and obviously you have, right? You've done this in the lab, and we're going to talk about this study today.
Yes.
So with that being said, I learned years and years ago that in order for appropriate stem cell differentiation to occur, those stem cells need certain things like real vitamin A, retinol. Is that still true, that retinol is something that helps to differentiate cells, and is it important in your study?
So I guess it'll depend on the cell type you're using. In our case, we don't need to use retinol. It turns out that the memory of your starting cell type is maintained at least partway through the reprogramming process. And so we don't actually have to provide any cues to the cells in our system. But yeah, I guess we'll talk a bit about that more in detail when we get onto our method.
Okay. And what are the 4 genes, if you wouldn't mind, that the illustrious scientists discovered needed to be either activated, or are they activated? Are they shut down, or is it a combination? What are the 4 genes?
So these 4 genes are OCT4, SOX2, KLF4, and c-MYC. These were identified by Yamanaka, and as you mentioned, they need to be activated. So these genes are usually very tightly repressed or switched off in our normal body cells. They're usually only switched on in actual like embryonic stem cells. So by activating them in a body cell, it triggers a series of events that eventually leads to the activation of the pluripotency program.
When we first started talking about stem cells, there was the fear that the stem cells could become somehow tainted and become cancer cells. Mm-hmm. Is that true with the cells that you were working with in the lab?
That's definitely a major concern for complete reprogramming, and another reason why we are amazed by the potential of complete reprogramming, but acknowledge the caveats of complete reprogramming. And so effectively, by avoiding going to this full pluripotent state, we should be able to avoid the risks of cancer. As you mentioned, these cells have essentially unlimited potential, and when placed into a human body without the correct signals, this potential leads to the formation of cancers called teratomas. So these are essentially dividing uncontrollably and also forming very unusual cell types.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about your research now. Explain what you did in this study. Mm-hmm. How did you approach it?
Yeah. So essentially at the beginning of our project, we very much knew the beginning and the end of reprogramming in terms of age. We knew if we started off from cells from a 50-year-old, for example, the cells would be 50 years old. And we knew at the end, when they turned to stem cells, they'd be 0 years old. But we didn't actually know when during the process this rejuvenation occurred. Was this a gradual decrease throughout the entire method? Was it a sudden drop at some point? And did you actually have to do the entire process to get this reversal of age? So to begin with, we actually profiled age throughout the reprogramming process. I guess to kind of briefly describe how we measure age, there are a variety of tools we can use, including things such as epigenetic clocks. These are tools that are able to measure the biological or true age of cells, tissues, or even people, and rely on the kind of epigenetics of our cells. So our DNA isn't just a strand of information. It's actually covered in a variety of molecules that helps to control which parts of the DNA are used and which parts of the DNA are switched off. And this pattern of molecules that covers the DNA, this changes as we get older. And these tools called epigenetic clocks basically convert this pattern into a biological age measure, which we can track throughout the reprogramming process. So as I mentioned, this is a way to kind of get a sneak preview of what the age of a cell is during the process. And what we discovered is it's actually during the middle stages of reprogramming that the rejuvenation is occurring. So you could, in theory, stop it at the midway point where cells haven't fully become stem cells, but they have rejuvenated. And in theory, this would be a way to kind of get the rejuvenation, but keep your cell type.
What does an old cell look like compared to a rejuvenated cell that's taken back just to the point of rejuvenation, but not embryonic? What are they like side by side?
So this is the kind of the interesting or surprising thing. So these cells do change temporarily at the intermediate step. They have become rounder. So if you're looking at a skin cell, they're typically quite elongated cell types. They kind of stretch out and they would be reaching to kind of fill in different gaps. When they start to reprogram, they become a lot rounder, a lot smaller. And in the kind of intermediate steps, that's already started to occur as well. So these cells are rounder and smaller. But interestingly, if you stop the reprogramming process at this point, they somehow remember that they used to be a skin cell, and they actually go back to being elongated and Yeah, and bigger cells again. So they essentially remember they were skin cells and kind of return back to it. In terms of kind of comparing a youthful to an old one, there are things such as DNA damage that we can have a look at, but also just the kind of things that these cells are making and the ways they behave change that indicate if they're old or young.
Okay, so I'm sure you're quite aware of these two terms, telomeres and also senescent cells. Okay, so these are any of these cells that you then rejuvenated, were they senescent? They were.
So no, I guess the right way to answer this question is they were not senescent at the time of being before our method, but these cells, I guess, we don't know entirely if they would be. They don't become senescent by our method, basically. So these cells are undergoing the process and they remain kind of being dividing cells afterwards, is the right way to describe it. As for your second question, the telomeres, these are an important structure, as you know, that shorten as we get older or cells divide. Interestingly, these don't seem to rejuvenate. And this is something that suggests that our protocol causes a kind of partial rejuvenation, and that there maybe are different elements of rejuvenation that occur and may need to be activated.
But it also could mean, you know, a lot. I was on the cusp of the whole telomere thing and telomerase and, you know, taking things that increase telomerase. But now we've learned that it may not be that how short your telomeres are, as opposed to how quickly they are getting. And the reality is that the whole telomere length equals longevity is pretty much come up busted. So maybe telomeres aren't as important as we think they are to indicate longevity. You know, so I mean that's one thing that I would say. Well, maybe telomeres really aren't that important. But when we talk about senescent cells, we're talking about cells. You know, I hate the term zombie cells, but I guess it works for people. These cells are similar in nature to cancer cells in that they become immortal. They will not die. They will not make room for new cells to come in. They basically ignore the apoptotic landscape of the body, but worse than that, they, just like cancer cells, they gobble up everything that's good for healthy cells. As an example of that, I tried to get the authors on the show, but they're in Australia. It's very hard to interview people in Australia because it's like 1:00 in the morning when we're doing our show. But there was a fascinating paper published about 2 years ago that showed that that senescent cells carry 3 to 4 times more iron than healthy cells. They store it very easily, which to me it says advanced oxidative stress, because we know that iron is basically rust in your body, and it does like everything else. Rust does to everything else. It erodes, it destroys it, and so on. So I guess my question is, did you see a displacement of iron or any evidence that there was a normalization of iron content in cells when you brought them back just far enough to be rejuvenated?
That is a really interesting question. Unfortunately, we haven't yet had a look at iron levels in our cells. It will be definitely an interesting question to look into to see if they are essentially reducing the amount of iron within them. But yeah, right now it's something we haven't looked at, unfortunately, just yet.
I really think there's some importance in this aspect, and I'll tell you why. I have observed people who don't eat red meat but eat chicken and fish, and they tend to age very well. I am on hormone replacement therapy, so I have to donate blood every couple months because my iron levels get very high very quickly. And I have experienced iron overload, and it is debilitating. Everything in your body aches. It destroys chondrocytes in the joints. It's just horrible. Iron is horrible. It really is. But we need it. You know, we need it. And it would be fascinating to me to see what role iron plays in the advanced aging of cells, and when you rejuvenate these cells, where does this iron go? It'd be fascinating to me.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Because right now we don't. These cells undergo such dramatic changes in their cell shape and their size and everything. You could easily imagine that this could be a perfect time for them to essentially lose that iron if they're already undergoing such massive changes in their shape and size.
Well, it may actually be a prerequisite that they lose that iron in order to go back to a younger phase. The other thing is, I first started talking about, well, we talked about epigenetics on the show for so long, and epigenetics are fascinating. I mean, epigenetics aren't just about your health. Actual intelligence is conveyed through epigenetics. For instance, male rodents were given black cherry, and every time they were given black cherry, they were shocked, like Pavlovian approach. And until the point when they just smelled black cherry, they cowered, they shook, they got nervous. Then they were put into cages with general populations of rodents. They were rats, and they fathered offspring. And their offspring, when they smelled black cherry, panicked. So we know that epigenetics is why a baby deer knows not to trust people, because that intelligence is passed along, not just your ability to survive in certain environments. Okay, with that being the case, I have lost a lot of faith in epigenetic testing. Now, it may just be that we don't understand it well enough to extrapolate the facts from it, but I've asked this question to other people who are deep in the category of epigenetic testing. I say, so if I get my epigenetic test done, and it says I'm actually chronologically 64, and it's I'm 70, so then I employ all these different techniques, and then I go back and I get tested a year later, and it says now I'm 45. Am I really going to live another 30 years longer than I would have? No one knows. No one really knows, unless we start doing monozygotic twins and following them through their whole lives and doing epigenetic testing. But at this point in time, we really don't know, like, if the age assigned by epigenetic testing means anything at all. What do you think? Do you think epigenetic testing is adequate enough to look at these cells and go, oh yeah, look, they've reversed an age? Or are there other markers that have more meaning than epigenetic testing?
Yeah, I think that's a really important consideration. These epigenetic clocks they're fascinating tools and I think really interesting insights, but we don't really understand what they mean. Effectively, they are just almost like a random set of parts of our DNA that change with time. And whether that reflects meaningful biology is still something that is widely debated in the aging community. And I think what we're interested in is trying to see how the epigenetic clock relates to other marks of aging, and if it always matches up, or if there are actually times where these marks conflict. So we've been looking at other ways to look at aging. So one way is to look at what genes are actually switched on and what genes are switched off. And this actually can form something similar to an epigenetic clock called a transcription clock. So effectively, by looking at what genes are on or off, we can predict how old cells are or how old tissues or people are. So it's a very similar approach, but instead of using epigenetics, we're using gene expression. And you could say this is a bit more similar or a bit more closer to function, because if you imagine the kind of pipeline, your epigenetics controls your genes, but if they're switched on or off, that'll lead to if they're making the RNA, and then that will lead to the protein being made and the functions changing. So in terms of the pipeline, RNA is a bit closer to actual function. So I think in combination, you can see if these two measures match, that I think is a more stronger measure rather than if just one changes and the other doesn't. So in our study, we also looked at transcription clocks and also saw that those were rejuvenated by a similar margin. But even then, I think these tools, because we don't understand what they fully mean, we have to look at the actual functional measures. So in our case, we looked at things like collagen levels. So the skin cells that we look at are fibroblasts, and collagen is a major protein that they make to actually support the structure of the skin. And as we get older, they start to produce less collagen. And we were able to see that by looking at the amount of collagen they were producing. But excitingly, after doing our method, they started producing more collagen. So these cells were from 50-year-old individuals, and they were producing collagen levels similar to a 30-year-old. So they were also rejuvenating the amount of collagen being made. Another measure we also looked at is the actual movement of these cells. These cells in the skin are also responsible for wound healing. So when you cut yourself, these cells will spring into action and start moving into the gap that's been produced to actually start producing the proteins required to heal it. And with age, the speed of these cells slows down. They become a bit more sluggish. They take longer to get into the gaps. And we can recreate these conditions in a lab by essentially kind of making a kind of artificial wound. And we were able to, again, recapitulate the reduce of speed with age. And excitingly, again, we saw an increase in speed after doing our method on these cells. So I think by doing all these measures, we can get a much stronger sense if we actually are doing rejuvenation. And I think, yeah, we have to be skeptical and careful if we just do one measure, such as an epigenetic clock.
So your lab did this work in a petri dish?
So yeah, all our work is done in cell culture.
Right.
It's definitely something we have to consider going forwards. We are hoping to move this eventually into maybe 3D culture systems in the future. So maybe skin organoids, and then maybe it will moving further into animals and then eventually into people in the future.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, okay, so this is really outstanding science. This is fantastic. But how do I do it in situ? How do I do it with my skin on my body?
Yeah.
I'm talking about all of my skin. I just don't want this area to be younger. I need the whole. How would you do that?
So that's definitely an important consideration. Right now, we're using viruses because it's in a dish, and that's totally fine. But that isn't going to be a sensible approach in the future. And we are hoping to try and understand what we can do to make this an easier application. Right now, we're imagining this to be a sort of ex vivo rejuvenation approach. So this would be, I guess, a more targeted way, or cell therapy, where you would take cells from yourself, rejuvenate them, and then you'd use them when needed. So for example, if you cut yourself or got a very severe burn, you would then put these cells as a skin graft onto the affected area. This, yeah, would be plenty of ways to use our method in a kind of therapeutic context.
It's fascinating. Are you familiar with the peptide GHKCU? It's a copper peptide that's been associated with having skin rejuvenating effects because it works genetically. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard a little bit about it, yeah. And I guess just to kind of preface this, I'm not an expert when it comes to kind of this actual skin kind of treatments, but I'm very fascinated about these methods that are capable of rejuvenation. And yeah, would be excited. I am hoping to learn more about this in the future.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if and I'm going to find out from one of my scientist friends if in fact GHKCU affects the 4 genes. Tell me the name of the genes again. I'm sorry.
No worries. They are OCT4, SOX2, KLF4, and CMYC.
Yeah, I've heard of KLS4 and FOX2. Okay.
So yeah, these genes are all known to play important roles in kind of, yeah, stem cells, especially at the kind of embryonic stages. And yeah, these genes normally aren't switched on in normal body cells, but yeah, if they activate, they seem to have rejuvenating potential.
I want to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to ask just a little bit about nutrition and its role in your work. Okay, cool. We're talking with Dr. Dlijeet Gill. And we're talking about a discovery where they were able to reverse the aging of skin cells by 30 years. This is the beginning, folks, because if they can do this with skin cells, they can do it with corneal cells and retinal cells and kidney cells. And so this is really a lot more we're talking about here than just the what's the word I'm looking for? The fantasy of looking younger. This is deeper than that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
If you'd like a shortcut to better sleep, more energy, and calmer, more stable moods, then you should make sure you're supplementing with magnesium daily. Let me tell you why. About 75% of people are magnesium deficient. This deficiency can lead to higher levels of anxiety, irritability, trouble sleeping, and low energy. It can even contribute to foot and leg cramps while you sleep. Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers is the single best magnesium supplement in the world. Simply take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you'll be amazed by the improvements in your mood and energy levels, and how much more rested you feel when you wake up. I take Magnesium Breakthrough every night, and I sleep better because I use it. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 during checkout to save 10% off and get free shipping. Check it out. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expressions of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restore Cell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contain potent formulations of blue copper peptide and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Buy their complete set and receive a free exfoliating cleanser. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. Remodel your skin today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are 2 blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
This is the Superhuman Channel. Evolution just got kicked up a notch.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dr. Deljeet Gill. We're talking about rejuvenating and reversing the aging of skin, which will also have impact on organs and who knows what else. This is really fascinating. What about oxidative stress in the role of aging skin?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we do know that with age, oxidative stress does increase. And this is something that reprogramming has the ability to actually reverse. If this is based on work that has been done on complete reprogramming. So if we look at the kind of stem cells produced, these have much lower levels of oxidative stress. It's something we haven't looked at in our own system yet, but it would be very interesting to see if we also are able to kind of capture that part of full reprogramming and also reduce oxidative stress. Which would be very interesting because oxidative stress has so many negative effects in terms of causing DNA damage, damaging proteins, and in general, just causing a more stressed state, which accelerates aging.
So you mentioned earlier that aging causes a reduction in the production of collagen.
Yes.
We also know that as people age, they tend either not to tolerate or not to desire protein as much. Maybe their teeth, maybe their digestive system, but we know that older people don't sit down and have a big steak. You know, they just don't. They eat little things and they eat sweet things. They like cookies and stuff like that. How much of the reduction in collagen production could be dietary?
That's a really interesting question. I am not familiar entirely with what actually causes the reduction in collagen. It would be very fascinating to see if it is linked to the kind of metabolism, and that definitely will cause signaling changes. And with collagen being a protein, you do need the amino acids to actually construct it. So potentially by actually eating less protein, you're going to be producing less collagen. So yeah, something that would be very interesting to examine. I don't know if anyone is actually familiar with the mechanisms behind collagen reduction and what is actually the steps between the two.
Yeah, it'd be simple to give an elderly do maybe a biopsy and then just start giving them a hydrolyzed collagen drink twice a day, and then go in and do it again and see what happens. So we know that cellular aging is driven by glucose signaling. I did a show in 2007, I think, with someone from the Albert Einstein School of Medicine on the East Coast, and cellular and the title of the study was cellular senescence is triggered by glucose signaling, which basically means, if your blood sugar is up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, this advances the cellular aging in your body. With that being said, it would be interesting to look at your research in an environment where blood sugar and insulin are elevated and see if you can still reverse the aging of the cell in the face of these two things. Because I have a feeling that in someone who's metabolically deranged, some of these things may not work as well. Any thoughts on that?
That's a really, really important insight. So the actual environment these cells are in is going to play a very important role in the aging of these cells. And it's going to be an important question if the cells, if they're rejuvenated, are actually able to maintain this rejuvenation if the remaining cells or remaining tissue or even the environment isn't rejuvenated. There are, I guess, two kind of hypotheses. You could imagine one being they just age faster and catch up because the surroundings aren't favorable. But you could also imagine another scenario where, because these cells are younger, they might be able to help support the cells nearby them and actually help them also to recover from the kind of not so optimal environment. And yeah, it'll be very important to see which of the two scenarios actually hold. Are they going to be the ones that succumb to the environment, or will they be the ones that actually promote rejuvenation in the environment? I think this is going to be especially important when we start looking at other cell types. This might vary depending on the cell type you're looking at. You could imagine if you're rejuvenating maybe a blood stem cell, that might be actually powerful enough to rejuvenate the rest of the blood system. But maybe in the case of a skin cell, it wouldn't be powerful enough to actually rejuvenate the surrounding cells if they were not in a optimal environment.
There's a lot of talk about advanced glycation end products when we talk about metabolically deranged individuals, and we see the evidence of them on the skin. We see so liver spots are usually a combination of AGEs and polyunsaturated fatty acid depositions in the skin, and they become hyperpigmentized, and as a result of that, people wear these on their skin. They're very visible. Is that evidence of an aged cell, or is that just an anomaly because of the hyperpigmentation of the skin?
I think that is, an interesting idea. It might be a combination of both, but yeah, something that I'm not super familiar with. It will be interesting to see how rejuvenating leads them to deal, though, with these glycation products in particular. And I think that's something we could potentially be adding to our kind of research list. Can these cells actually deal with them better and get rid of them, or do they also kind of accumulate them?
You know, I read a study many years ago that if you take melatonin, make sure I'm thinking of the right. Yeah, if you take topical melatonin and put it on liver spots or AGE, that they will fade and go away without bleaching the skin. So a lot of people use bleaches, so you get rid of a dark spot, but now you have a light spot. But topical melatonin was capable of reversing what most people call liver spots. Somehow, I know melatonin is a powerful antioxidant. Melatonin is made in the skin. We now know it's not just made, you know, in the brain as a response to light and dark. So there might be some magic there that would be interesting to
yeah, that would be really exciting. One thing that we have noticed is that the rejuvenation in the skin cells doesn't just seem to reflect skin cell genes. We also see genes that relate to other parts of the body. And yeah, maybe we might need to have a look at melatonin gene expression and see if that also goes in the right direction.
Yeah. What about sun? I love the sun, and I refuse to wear sunscreen. I love the sun. I am a strong believer that the sun played a vital role in our evolutionary journey. I also am a strong believer that skin cancer is a result of diet. And people always say to me, how could that be? There are so many good studies out there that show that sun depletes retinol in the skin. And the most aggressive forms of skin cancer occur in people who have no retinol in their skin. And when you give people supplemental retinol, their risk of skin cancer diminishes dramatically, which in its simplest terms tells me that which we put in our mouth makes it into our skin. And either it will be protective or it may be photoreactive and turn on some oncology gene. So, you know, if we're eating a lot of processed foods with lots of artificial chemicals, they make it into the skin, and they could be the reason that when you lay in the sun, you get skin cancer. In fact, I just had this conversation with a friend who is an orthodontist, and he never goes in the sun because his mother died of skin cancer. But yet he gets skin cancer in areas of his body that are never exposed to the sun, which completely shoots the whole sun equals skin cancer theory out of the water completely. But with that being said, what do you think about sun and aging skin?
I think it's something that is, not fully conclusive, and there probably is a mixed in scenario where in some cases there might be beneficial or harmful effects, and it really might depend on the kind of individual and circumstances. From my kind of knowledge of the literature, there has been work looking at comparing sun exposed to not sun exposed skin cells to see if there are differences, and there were some identified, but it's important to recognize that the sun is needed for vitamin D production, which is also very important for kind of our health and its many roles in our physiology. So it's very much a kind of mixed scenario, and I think there is no kind of consensus of what's the right and wrong. I
would like to plant a seed in your mind to abandon the idea that that sun exposure and vitamin D are the critical movers, and think about the melanocortin system, because the melanocortin system is responsible for all the things that we think vitamin D does. It increases libido, well-being, it reduces inflammation. In fact, there are 4 melanocortin receptors on every cell, and you can completely suppress chronic inflammation by sitting in the sun. There was a study done with rodents where they gave rodents melanotan-2, which is a synthetic melanocortin stimulating hormone 1,000 times stronger than our own MSH. It was invented by Arizona State University as a pre-treatment for people who are very, very high on the Fitzpatrick scale, where they go in the sun and they burn in 10 minutes. By pre-treating, by taking melanotan-2, you develop a tan that's protective and you don't get skin cancer. Melanotan-2 has been shown to remove atherosclerotic plaque from arteries in short periods of time. They gave it to rodents, and they watched the plaque get reabsorbed, which means that being in the sun is good for your blood vessels. And
amazing.
Well, and when we look at people who live near the equator, we go, oh, they have very little heart disease, but it's not vitamin D. It's the melanocortin system. But with that being said, I really think that keep in the back of your mind when you start to look at skin and its reactivity to sun, start thinking about the melanocortin system, because I have a funny feeling a lot of the things that we think vitamin D does, and then we do a study and it didn't do it, and we go, gee, how could that be? It's because we're getting about this much stronger group of hormones produced from sunlight. So,
yeah, I'll definitely have to keep that a note of that, because we are, as we said, we are hoping to move into skin models, and we would like to kind of test the kind of how the skin health is really being affected. And it will be important to fully understand all the mechanisms at play. So thank you for that.
We're going to take our last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this interview. We'll talk about anything that we missed. Stay tuned. You are watching and listening to Superhuman Radio. We'll be right back. Most people have heard of phytoestrogens, but did you know there are beneficial phytoandrogens? The top source of these is pine pollen. It even contains trace amounts of testosterone and DHEA. If you're looking for a 100% natural testosterone booster, this is worth trying. Lots of men love it, and it even works for women. Lost Empire Herbs offers the highest quality wild harvested, non-irradiated pine pollen backed by a 365-day money-back guarantee. It works for you, or you don't have to pay for it with nothing to send back. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Lost Empire. Use code SHR. Get 15% off your order today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 10% off your entire first order. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shonnetwork.biz/truekava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today. Are you 35 or older? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases sometimes by 50% by the age of 35, and it only keeps going down from there. This affects everything from making it harder to recover from workouts, sleep, and a general loss of a sense of well-being. It also affects your ability to get and stay lean. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind, 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription synthetic growth hormone treatments. All the benefits without any of the needles or side effects and 100% safe. Previously only available through doctors, you can go to shrnetwork.biz/biopro, that's BIOPRO, and use code SHR30 for $30 off today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We're talking to Dr. Deljeet Gill, talking about rejuvenating the skin. In a study, they were able to reverse the age of skin cells by 30 years. That is significant. I would love my face to look like it was 30 years younger. But what about growth factors, growth hormone, growth factors, fibroblast growth factors, all of these growth factors? Do they have a role in helping these cells become more youthful?
So that's really interesting. These cells will be producing growth factors that kind of help influence each other. And it's something that we are hoping to kind of investigate. We want to really look at the kind of proteins these cells are making, the signaling, the molecules they're making, and how they're talking to each other. Are they actually making more of these signaling molecules that might actually be keeping them in a youthful state? Yeah, it's something we haven't fully investigated, but I guess one thing to mention is in the reprogramming process, these cells are exposed to fibroblast growth factor 2, and it will be interesting to see if that in itself plays maybe a role in the kind of rejuvenation process.
What do you hope clinicians and lay people take away from this study?
I think the main message is that we have developed a very exciting method which harnesses some of the kind of rejuvenation from reprogramming, but still keeps the starting cell type. I think that's the main message. You can have your kind of functions and cell type, but have a more, you can rejuvenate the cells by 30 years. And yeah, going forward, this could be really, really exciting for treating skin conditions in particular, but in the future, maybe even broader.
Obviously, sagging skin, the scaffolding of what do I want to say? Well, basically, there's strands in the skin that act like scaffold that keep the skin close to the body, and then through the weight gain and loss or gravity and aging, that just kind of stretches out. That'll never be able to be reversed without surgery, I would imagine, right? I mean, I don't think you're gonna be able to rub a skin on, rub a cream on, and just have that skin draw back in.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider. How much of our own body, like even if you put the youthful cells in there, would they be able to do those physical motions? And yeah, in the future, it may be a case of a combination of surgery as well as these cell therapies that might be able to get the best, longest lasting outcome. But yeah, definitely an important consideration. What are the limitations of youthful cells? They might not be able to solve everything, but hopefully they can maintain a youthful profile afterwards.
Cola Quench, who is watching on YouTube, said, if there's time for this question, and if you didn't already discuss it, are there any nutraceuticals or foods that target any of the Yamanaka factors?
As far as I'm aware, we don't know any just yet, but we are hoping to discover what molecules could be actually used to replace these. And that's kind of our overarching future goal. Can we replace the reprogramming genes with actual molecules that we might be able to give either maybe in the form of a pill, or maybe nutrition might be a way as well? In which case, could we activate the rejuvenation program, but without reprogramming factors? Right now, that's still an unknown, but a hot topic we are pursuing right now.
Our next guest, Mary Sabat, has a master's degree in nutrition, and we're going to talk about nutrition and healthy skin. So maybe she has something to contribute to that. That'll be fascinating. So when is your next study? What are you working on right now?
Yeah, so right now we are working on quite a few different directions. So one is trying this in other cell types. We are hoping to see if this could work in maybe liver cells, for example, or heart cells. And this would be really exciting if it does, because it suggests that we can rejuvenate not just the skin, but other organs in the body. The other things we're doing are kind of understanding the mechanisms of rejuvenation, as I kind of alluded to before. Is there a rejuvenation program that exists, and what would be the way to activate it if it does? So yeah, these are the kind of two directions we're pursuing: other cell types with our current method, and eventually working out the rejuvenation program if it does exist.
Very good. Listen, I want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. This is fascinating stuff, and I hope you get this problem solved before I'm 75.
No problem. Thanks so much for having me.
Take care. Thank you.
Goodbye then.
Bye. We're going to take one quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the nutritional side of the quality of your skin and the things that you can do to arrest aging in the skin now, which I've done. There is no comparison to my face now and just a few short months ago since I started using Rejuvacell. I mean, Restoracell, I'm sorry. It's an amazing product, and we're going to talk about that too here. So just stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio, and carry on. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today. If you've listened to Superhuman Radio for any length of time, you know I'm a big proponent of peptides. One of my favorites is GHKCU, the blue copper peptide. It has the ability to repair and regenerate more youthful expressions of skin cells, reversing the signs of aging. Restoracell's Stem Cell Awakening Serum, along with their other products, contain potent formulations of blue copper peptide and only the highest quality organic ingredients. Superhuman Radio listeners can now save 25% site-wide. Buy their complete set and receive a free exfoliating cleanser. Go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25. That's SHR25. Remodel your skin today. I would easily say that I am the hugest proponent you will ever meet to doing anything that will improve the quality of my sleep. And that's because sleep is linked to just about every metabolic disorder we see in our population today. One of the easiest things you can do to improve the quality of your sleep is to get a pillow that can be shaped into the exact form factor that allows you to get your best night's sleep. And that is MyPillow. I've been sleeping with MyPillow for a few years now, and I can tell you that when I have to travel and stay in hotels, I don't get a good night's sleep because I don't have MyPillow with me. Right now, you can save up to 60% off of everything offered to improve the quality of your sleep at shrnetwork.biz/MyPillow when you use the code SHR. Or you can call toll-free 800-889-4938. And remember to use code SHR to save up to 60% off of everything at their website. C60, also known as Buckminster fullerene, is the most powerful, most versatile antioxidant in the world. It's been shown in studies to double the lifespan of rodents. We all know the importance of taking antioxidants to slow aging, reduce inflammation, and improve mitochondrial function and energy production. But there are literally hundreds of antioxidants that would cost you thousands of dollars to take every day. I take one. I take C60 from C360 Health. Revive and Rejuvenate are two blends that harness the power of C60. Don't waste another minute. Go to shrnetwork.biz/revive and use the code SHR for 15% off and free shipping inside the United States today.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
Plant medicine has become all the rage for mental optimization. Now there's an ancient plant medicine rapidly growing in popularity that experts believe might just be the alcohol of the future. It's called True Kava. Kava is a natural food-grade elixir that has been used for over 3,000 years by South Pacific Islanders as safe, non-addictive alternative to drugs and alcohol. By naturally boosting the brain's main feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, Kava provides you with both increased relaxation and mental clarity at the same time. True Kava is a new form of stabilized full-spectrum traditional kava that is third-party lab tested for quality and safety. Go to shrnetwork.biz/true kava, and that's TRUKAVA, all one word, and use code SHR for 25% off today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Hey, welcome back. Is that Terry next to you?
Yeah, he was.
Come on, he wants to be on the show. Come on.
I kicked him off.
Okay. We're joined by Debbi Barber and also Mary Sabat. Welcome to the show. Am I pronouncing your last name properly?
Sabat.
Sabat. Okay, thank you. And we're picking up where we left off. So we just talked about an interesting study that they were able to rejuvenate a skin cell by 30 years. And obviously, I asked about GHKCU, and he's aware of it. He's aware of the peptide and what it can do. So this leads us to this discussion now, first of all. And I love my Restore Cell. I use it twice a day, in the morning and at night. And I just came back. I'm a lot darker than I look. Is someone breathing into a sounds like someone's breathing into a microphone? It's slowing down. Okay. I was just ago and I laid it in the sun every single day, but I did put my Restore Cell on in the morning and in the evening before. Now, Mary, you are a nutritionist, right? You have a master's degree in nutrition, correct?
I do, yes. I'm a registered dietitian, licensed dietitian, and an ACE certified personal trainer.
And what role does nutrition play in the quality of skin as we age?
Well, it plays a huge role. It's very complex. I mean, there's so much involved. I mean, your nutrition is going to affect your organs and how you absorb food and nutrients. And of course, so many people just don't get enough nutrition. They're eating processed foods, not absorbing nutrition correctly. I'm not sure if that's mine.
No, it's not. Deb is, I just muted Deb's mic for now, so you keep talking. It looked like she was adjusting her boom microphone. Maybe that's what.
Oh, okay. I thought that was me.
Let's see.
So, I deal kind of on a big picture with people, looking at what they're putting in their body and trying to get them to eat real food again. I mean, people just don't eat real food.
Where do you fall on the whole polyunsaturated fatty acid puffers, seed oils and stuff like that, and the quality of skin? There's a lot of emerging science now saying that we were told puffers are so good for us, but now they're not.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely inflammatory, and I think people have way too much omega-6 and the polyunsaturates and not enough of the omega-3s, not a good balance, because of all the processed foods that they're eating, and they don't even realize it. They just think, well, I went to a restaurant and I bought the cleanest looking thing. They don't understand how it was cooked and the types of oils and how that's affecting their overall health.
When I had Dr. Gill on the show a second ago, we talked about advanced glycation end products and polyunsaturated fatty acids producing liver spots on the skin. Can you tell us anything about liver spots? Some people call them age spots, liver spots. I call it advanced glycation end products. Can you teach us anything about them?
I don't know much about age spots. I do know, what we always think about is attacking them topically. what he was saying was really interesting, because you do have if we have too much sugar in our diet, that's going to affect how our skin is forming these age spots for sure, right? Because you have the glycation. It's almost like you would think about the combination of potatoes being fried, the same thing happening in your body when you have sugar and the wrong types of fats.
Yeah, this is a big problem, because if you have those spots on the outside of your body, then there's a lot of bad stuff going on inside your body as well.
Oh yeah.
You need to realize. Just give me 1 second, because I have questions I want to ask you specifically. I kind of got thrown off there for a second. Oh, that's not it. Let's talk about the Restore Cell for a second, Deb. It looks like you reformulated the moisturizer.
The moisturizer.
Why did you do that?
We wanted more balance. The oils, we felt like it's all natural oils. Everything in it is natural. And so we thought that it should really be a little bit more, it should absorb better. And so we rebalanced them, and we also added more GHK-Cu copper peptides. And the results have been it. And I sent you, Carl. I don't know if you've tried it yet.
I just got it. Just got it. It's on my desk.
It absorbs so much better into your skin, and it is a bright blue. You can see the extra copper peptides mixed with the oil. So we think we've got a winner here. And Mary, you've tried it.
I've tried it. It's amazing. Yeah, I love it.
Elisa used to say that it had a different smell before. Now it doesn't smell at all. Like before, it had like a latex smell or something.
The lipids were breaking down, and it was totally fine, and it worked fine. In fact, it worked great. Some of the worst things I've used on my face do not smell great, but that's not what you want.
Right.
You do not want you want a pleasant experience. So this one, there's almost Mary, would you agree? No scent.
Oh gosh, no smell.
It's smell.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it's great.
I'm trying to find, I had questions. I apologize for being ill prepared here. I had questions for you, and now I can't find them. So let's do this. So you focus mainly on nutrition for people who are trying to improve the quality of their skin. What are some of the worst things people do that hurts their skin as far as diet goes?
It's so complex, right? How your skin is going to be healthy is not just a simple vitamin or pill or collagen or one thing that we can do. But if you had to pick one thing, the most important thing, it's going to be sugar for sure. Sugar is going to affect us in so many ways. And most people will say to me, they'll come to me, they'll go, well, Mary, I don't need a lot of sugar. That's not my problem. And then everything they're eating is sugar, because they don't really think about grains as being sugar. I actually had a client yesterday that didn't realize that the 2 types of sugary cereal had sugar, plus he was putting sugar on the cereal. So what's happening in our body with all this sugar is just inflammation, high levels of insulin, which are going to reduce insulin growth like factor, which you would know more about, how that relates with growth hormone. So many things, right? It's going to disrupt our gut health. It's going to disrupt our liver. It's going to give us fatty liver. And if we have fatty liver, we can't break down our food. We can't absorb our nutrients. And I can just look at somebody when I first meet them and see if they have all kinds of issues with their skin. They've got liver issues and gut issues, and they're from the inside out, they're just not healthy.
It's funny you say this, because we have friends and they have this constant red patina. It's on the upper chest and the face. And I don't know if it's rosacea, but I can tell that their guts and their liver are screwed.
Right, yeah.
And I know people that I think to myself, I don't know how long this person's going to last. They probably think it's normal to have that rosy red face, like it's probably crept up on them over years. But that's an indication that that's something wrong in your liver and your gut. And sure. The other thing I wanted to mention was one of the things I've discovered as I age is small blood vessels. When they start not carrying blood, your skin gets crappy, right? You start losing hair, right? Because you're starving stuff, and you don't have that. You know, we don't realize that our skin is reactive. Like when you touch something, your skin actually moves and does things to kind of pucker up a little bit and grab stuff. You start to lose that ability as the blood vessels start to shrink, and ragingly high insulin destroys small blood vessels. So we have all these people that are metabolically challenged, and they don't realize that their skin is just dying on the outside of them.
Sure. Yeah. Premature aging and wrinkling, and they go to the doctor and look for a drug, right? Because they have rosacea or because they have eczema. Instead of looking internally, we have to fix that from internally. We can't just keep putting stuff on. Other than Restore Cell, which is definitely going to help you.
Talk about Restore Cell. Talk about Restore Cell, because I know that you are very fond of it. You use it, right?
I do use Restore Cell, and I was one of the lucky people to start using it early on. I actually met Debbie because I had a client who, I'm also a personal trainer, so I had a client that I started working with her when she was 58, and she's now 74. And so I know her very well intimately, and I was watching her skin and thinking, why does her skin look so good? It looks so good. And then she told me all about Debbie and introduced me. And it was before they even had launched the product, I was able to try it and use it for a good 3 months before it came on the market. And I'm just sold. I am totally sold. I love it. I recommend it to all my clients. I post it on my blogs, and I've had my esthetician tell me, what are you doing? Your skin looks great. So, yeah.
So the new moisturizer is a darker blue.
Yes.
So it has more GHK in it, I guess.
Yes,
huh?
it does. And it's more balanced. I feel like it's more balanced. And Mary she gave us great feedback. One of the things that's so great is we have users who are so passionate about the product that they share things, and we listen, and we're willing to go to the lab. And we spent 4 days in the lab, and we were going to balance the oils and make sure there was no scent. And of course, while we're at it, let's have some more GHKCU.
Yeah, and there is no scent to this. The other one really smelled like latex paint.
It did. It did.
Yeah, and Elisa used to say to me, "Do you smell that?" I actually grew fond of the scent. It didn't.
It's interesting. So many people didn't notice any smell that didn't even smell to them. I think people are unique. So we needed to, and we were even, they suggested, should we add some botanical oils? And we said, we want neutral. We need to go neutral. And I love botanical oils, but we decided to go neutral with this new round.
I have it. Elisa said, I want some. I have it. I'm bringing it home. I'm bringing it home with me tonight. Thomas Whittingham says, I like the new moisturizer. Will that replace the current one in the set?
Yes, it is replaced.
Okay.
We sent samples to several of our customers who had repeatedly ordered, and we would say, give us your feedback. And it's just so amazing because some of them will write paragraphs, and it's very helpful and useful. So our customers have been part of building this product.
Thomas Whittingham said Terry had sent a sample to try. It's been about a week, and thumbs up. So there you go.
Thumbs up, Terry. Okay, he's happy to.
Yeah, there you go. So I think there was a really, really great quote on Mary's website about Restore Cell. I think Natalie had sent it to me earlier, but I don't think it's not up here today for me to share. Do you know what I'm talking about? The quote that you have about Restore Cell?
It's on my website. I don't know. I have to look it up.
You don't have to look it up. I sent myself an email today with questions, and I can't believe that I can't find it, but that's par for the course.
Well, one of the things I think that's so fascinating about Mary, and it makes me a little nervous when I'm around her, is she can tell what you've been doing by looking at you. And I think, oh, I don't know if I need to see you on Saturday morning.
Right.
I exercise, but I think, okay, did I eat something? Will she see this on my face? But she really notices. And that's how she discovered Restoracell, is she noticed a change in someone's face, in their skin. And I just think, I mean, what a great endorsement, because that's real. I mean, that's
What do you see in people's faces most often, like that they haven't been doing the right thing?
In the face is probably like more like an acne or blotchiness, but a lot of times I have clients that just have eczema or red patches all over their body, and they just think, oh yeah, I have that problem. Like, people think they have to have these problems. Like, I have this, instead of my body is exhibiting this symptom because something is wrong internally. They don't put that together.
It's funny because doctors don't think that way either. When you walk into a doctor's office and your blood pressure is high, of course they right away go to sodium, but there's a lot of research coming out now that sodium isn't raising people's blood pressure at all. But doctors don't think food has any role in disease.
Yeah. I always tell doctors that they have so much power if they would just use it and talk to their clients about, hey, you're pre-diabetic and you're hypertensive, you are this far away from, and you just have to change your life. And people that if their doctor tells them that, they come to me and they're serious. I want to change. I have to. My doctor said I have to. Mm-hmm. But instead, I get these people that are 300 pounds and their doctors, and they're saying, well, my doctor said my blood sugar is fine. I'm like, well, yeah, your doctor's wrong. You have fatty liver and your blood sugar is not fine. I'm sorry to tell you that.
And sadly, we have a lot of, sadly, we have a lot of opinions that have nothing to do with science. Mm-hmm. But body positivity, it's like, look, if you're 300, like I was 330 pounds, I was sick, and it hit me all at once, and then I had to wake up and say, well, do I want to die at 40 or do I want to live a little bit longer? But this makes it hard to have an honest discussion about health when you can't look at somebody and go, well, first thing you got to do is lose some weight. Oh, I don't have to lose weight. I mean, did anybody see the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition that just came out?
No.
Go get a copy. You will be shocked. I mean, the problem is you can't talk about this stuff without hurting someone's feelings or appearing mean. So being a 330-pound former fatso, I have a card that says I can talk about this without any words. And so, I see this girl that's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and she isn't just overweight, she's obese. And it's like, come on, give me a break. How far are you going to push this nonsense and normalize this aberration of humanity today and try to make it good? So I don't know. It's hard to talk about this because someone's going to get pissed off and tune out because I'm being mean. But you know what? Just remember, I didn't want to be fat. I was fat. I hated the way I looked. When I took the kids to the pool, I kept the T-shirt on. I didn't like it. Agreed. So Morgan Russo says, agreed. Discussions need to be honest, focus on feelings but focus on health more than feelings. It's true. It's true, but we can't do it. So let's talk about if you need help making your skin look good again. I have just the product for you. I'm going to put this up real quick. And it is Restoracell, and it's real science. This is not nonsense. Restoracell harnesses a peptide called GHKCU. The research on GHKCU is decades old. A French scientist was the first one to use it to regrow hair by injecting it in scalps and restore pigment in hair follicles. That's amazing to me. And why clinics aren't focusing on that, I don't know. But the thing that GHKCU does is it affects a variety of genes turning some on, turning some off, so that when cells are replaced with new cells, the new cells are representative of more youthful cells. And it takes a little while to see. It takes, about 2 or 3 weeks, you start to see the changes in your skin. But the reality is it takes about 2 or 3 months, and where all of a sudden you go, man, my skin has never looked this smooth before, ever. And that's right. And I just came back from the beach, where I burnt myself a lot. But I swear, like, my skin didn't get hurt when I was in Mexico, because I was using my RestoraCell every day, in the morning, in the evening, just like I always do. And I really feel that it gave me a degree of protection that I wouldn't have had otherwise. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/blue, BLUE, for the peptide, you can, and use the code SHR25, you can save 25% off. This product's amazing. I will never be without it, because I don't want to look old. If I don't, I used to be proud of it. I figured, look, I've laid in the sun so long that I ended up with the brown leather shoe face. And you know what? I'm going to be proud of it. I'm going to put it out there. I'm proud of it. But the reality is the changes that I see in my face from RestoraCell are phenomenal, and they are welcomed. I love it. I love looking younger.
And they continue, Carl. They continue I'm in my almost the second year. And I find new places to work on, knees, thighs. So the longer you use it, the more results you'll see.
Yeah. And, this is great for guys too.
Over 40% of our customers are guys.
Yes. Guys are starting to wake up and think, you know what, I have to look good. I'm training in the gym. I have a great physique. I'm strong. I'm active. But my face looks like my granddad's face. I don't want that. So, what are we missing with having Mary on the show today? Deb, can you help me a little bit? Because I misplaced the questions I had for her.
Well, I do. One of the things she is, look at her. She's radiant. You can see, and she just turned 60, right, Mary? I hope that's okay.
I just turned 61.
61. And I think it's a combination of the way her lifestyle, she has, from her family, when she grew up, has really focused on eating natural, clean foods, but then the exercise, because exercise is also a very important part of your skin. Getting the blood flowing. Mary, you want to talk a little bit about that? Or
Sure. Yeah, so definitely exercise is going to, like you said, not only get your blood flow to the vessels, right, into the outer part of the skin, because you're pumping the blood there, but also, like, if you think about your skin, it's your largest organ, right? Mm-hmm. And it's how we detoxify. So sweating is how we detoxify and get these toxin things out. So sweating is important. I know some of my clients don't like to sweat, and you do need to sweat, and it's just so good for you. So sweating and getting the blood flow.
What about sauna, Mary?
Oh yeah, there's so many great benefits to the sauna. I wish I had a sauna. I would go in it every day. I just think it's great for detoxifying the body and cleaning you out. As long as you stay hydrated.
Yeah, and sweating, like you said, is good. Any way you can sweat.
Yeah, and back to that salt thing with the hypertension, just for a second. A lot of people come to me and they're afraid to eat salt, and it's really hard to get them to understand that it's okay to have salt with minerals in it. It's okay to have Himalayan salt, or one of the salts with minerals. I just don't want you eating salt from processed food. There's a big difference.
That is.
And it's not the biggest thing with blood pressure. So I meant to interject earlier when you were talking about that.
I had a friend. I have a friend. Hold on a second. I got to figure out getting on with feedback.
My earphones died.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. Yeah. I'm feeding back into your speaker. If you can turn my volume down so you hear, that'll disappear. Test. It's better. I had a friend. Hold on. I'm gonna have to mute my mic for a second. So I had a friend, Bill. He's a over-the-road truck driver for UPS, and he and I used to be at the gym every day and train, and then we'd go in the sauna and sit. And so one day he said to me, man, my doctor is raising my blood pressure medication again. And I said, well, Bill, how often do you get in the sauna? He said 5 or 6 days a week. I said, does your doctor have you on a low sodium diet? He goes, oh yeah, I can't use salt on anything. I said, do you crave salt? He says, oh God, yes. I says, why don't you start salting your food? I says, don't worry, you're not going to have a heart attack. And he did. He started salting his food. And he went back to the doctors 3 months later, and the doctor took him off the blood pressure meds. Because what happens is your blood viscosity goes up when there's less water in your blood. It gets thicker. It's like your heart is pumping mud instead of a liquid. And this raises blood pressure, and doctors completely ignore this. And you'd think that they would say, wow, I've upped this guy's dose 3 times. He's not eating any salt. What else could be going on here? They don't. They just march blindly into what they've been taught by some pharmaceutical rep. And they put people's health in bad places.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
I want to. We're having some problems with audio right now. Hold on. Let me just go ahead and plug the product again. So if you're watching the show, if you're listening to the show, this could be for you if you're a guy. It could be for your wife. Be for both of you. If you go to shrnetwork.biz/blue and use the code SHR25, you'll save 25% off a product that I guarantee, I guarantee you will see changes in your skin in weeks and months that will make you want to use it forever. Does that sound right, Deb?
That's right.
Sorry, Mary, I'm having trouble with your audio.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They died on me. I don't know why.
I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Now
All
right, we're going to end it.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Take care.
Thank you.
Deb. On top of everything else, all of a sudden my allergies just came to haunt me. Again, go to shrnetwork.biz/blue. Use the code SHR25 to get 25% off it. The whole package. It's a moisturizer, eye cream, and a serum, and they're all packed with plenty of GHKCU that will change your skin for the better. We'll see everybody tomorrow with more Superhuman Radio. Take care.